The Constellation variants in Star Citizen, for the most part, are renowned for their versatility, able to perform well at a variety of different tasks and with different crew sizes. The Constellation Taurus takes some of that performance and strips it back to make extra room for more cargo boxes, which begs the question, does it strip back too much, and how does it perform in-game? I'm Forrester, and in this video I try to answer that question by spending some time reviewing the currently flyable RSI Constellation Taurus, described as a medium freight ship. For those of you who've seen other ship reviews on this channel, the format will be familiar. This video is split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. I've included timestamps in the video description in case you want to skip ahead. And if you're one of the 3/4 of people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you may choose to subscribe to be notified of future videos as they go live. Whilst there are a few different entry points to the Taurus, most players will enter via the elevator beneath the nose. This takes you up into Section B. We'll move straight ahead into Section A. The Constellation is split into 4 sections, with Section A at the front through to Section D at the rear. In this first section there is access to the 2 manned turrets, although the lower turret does not contain weapons. And there are 3 chairs at the front of the ship, 2 co-pilot seats flanking a pilot seat in the centre. At the rear of Section A there is some component access which is not currently operational. Moving rearwards into Section B, the airlock elevator is immediately visible. This is more of the habitation type section of the Constellation. There is a very dodgy looking shower toilet combo, as well as an airlock right on the top of the ship. Whilst there aren't currently docking mechanics for this airlock, in the future it may operate. There's also a seating area with table which theoretically deploys. There are weapon racks for the crew, as well as some storage containers. And then there are also beds for the crew on either side for a total of 4. Moving back into Section C, this is the main cargo body of the Taurus. The central cargo storage does deploy down, which makes it ideal for loading ground vehicles. This is also where the missile armament are visually stored on the Constellation. On either side there is a port and starboard airlock, which again doesn't currently operate in-game but can be used as an entry or egress point. At the rear of Section C there is another ladder for leading down into the cargo ramp, as well as component access, again not currently modelled in-game. And then at the back of the Taurus in Section D is some additional component access. And where the Merlin is stored in other variants, this area is used for additional cargo storage. It's probably worth mentioning before talking in too much detail about the combat performance of the Taurus that this is a cargo hauling ship. Whereas the other Constellation series are a little more versatile, the Taurus is all about optimising how much she can carry. And so, compared with other variants, the Taurus strips back a little on multi-crew slots for combat, notably omitting the ventral turret in favour of a tractor beam mount, and using the space where a Merlin snub fighter would be for extra cargo storage instead. That said, the Taurus is still a decent performer in the combat space for a couple of players. Firstly, the powerful pilot-controlled quad-size 4 gimbaled Rhino repeaters are still there, giving the Taurus a lot of forward-firing firepower, in a relatively forgiving arc of fire towards the front of the ship. In addition, the top turret remains, with another 2 size 2 laser repeaters, so if you are hauling cargo with a friend, you can get a little more firepower from that turret. And the Taurus also retains the generous missile storage, with 24 size 2 missiles to make smaller enemy targets think twice. Put all of that together and it means the Taurus isn't quite so powerful in a multi-crew arrangement as her big sister, the Andromeda, but retains all of the firepower that a solo player would use anyway. And that Constellation firepower is often seen as a great benchmark for combat contracts in the current patch, able to tackle most missions you might throw at it. Defensively, the Taurus carries a size 3 shield generator, which gives fairly reasonable protection for a ship of this size. Visibility on the Taurus is in line with what you might expect from the Constellation, meaning you get the meme-worthy patented RSI struts jutting about all over the place, slightly obstructing your view. But generally, you can see around, and having the canopy at the front of the Constellation is definitely advantageous. Handling-wise, the Taurus is surprisingly okay for a space truck. It does carry momentum through turns somewhat, which can make it feel a little sluggish at high speeds, but generally it handles fairly well. The top speed of 911 meters per second means the Constellation Taurus is not the quickest in a straight line, however, so don't expect to outrun potential challenges. As with other ships in the Constellation series, because the landing gear is so far back beneath the engines, it's very easy to have the nose wobble when you land, or even scrape the nose on the ground, and you'll notice when it happens, as you're in that nose. So, for a more graceful landing, you may want to properly slow down the ship before hitting the deck. Or, if you're in a hurry to make that cargo money, just scratch the nose paint anyway. The stock quantum drive is the Bolon, the mention of which might make you shudder. An upgrade to the XL1 for much faster transit is a good early investment, especially as this cargo ship has plenty of quantum fuel stores. So, for a little extra cost when refueling, you can string together different waypoints in your journey much more quickly. Generally speaking, the Taurus is fairly cheap to operate, and you can expect refueling to come in at low hundreds of Alpha UEC. If you've gone wild with missiles, sometimes rearming can be a little more expensive, but generally for cargo hauling, costs are likely to be low. And you have lots of options for making money with the Taurus. Naturally, many players will gravitate to the 174 SCU of cargo storage to make money through cargo trading, and that's enough cargo capacity to do a decent job at hauling goods. Then, the deployable cargo bay also gives options for transporting ground vehicles like the rock mining rover. Clearly, with plenty of internal storage available, box delivery type contracts are an option. And because the Taurus retains the powerful forward-facing armament for the pilot, it does a fairly good job with even relatively challenging combat contracts. By way of loadout changes to consider, my personal recommendation would be to swap out the quantum drive for an XL1, and maybe to swap out the shield generator for an FR86 if you're really expecting to use the Taurus for combat. Otherwise, most of the stock components seem to do just fine. One of the main reasons I'm so complimentary towards the Constellation series is because of how versatile they are, offering up different styles of gameplay to a solo player or even a small group. You could conceivably use the same ship as your daily driver and to do a number of things, which is a real sweet spot. The Taurus does sacrifice some of that, losing the extra turret and snub fighter in favour of being better at hauling cargo. For players considering the Constellation series and interested in the cargo gameplay loop, that makes the Taurus a natural choice. But it may also be an interesting choice for those who like the idea of the versatile Constellation, but don't think they would benefit from the fully crewed experience. That's because the Taurus is notably cheaper than the other Constellation variants, coming in at $190 versus the $240 that the Andromeda costs. So, you get a mostly similar spec ship for a solo pilot or two-man crew with a pretty hefty discount. And, although that is still a lot to spend on a virtual spaceship, you unlock a lot of different gameplay loops with it, as well as the potential to make in-game money more quickly than you would do with some of the other starter-type ships. But do you agree? What do you think of the constellation Taurus? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, as it helps me to know what you're finding most helpful. Otherwise, as always, thank you for watching.